Angela Rayner arriving on Tuesday for her last cabinet meeting, little did she know, embracing her colleague David Lammy, who's replaced her as Deputy Prime Minister, as today she sensationally quit the government and her elected post as Keir Starmer's number 2 in the Labour Party.
I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister.
The doom yet to come was written all over her face on Wednesday at Prime Minister's questions. Because it's Black Friday for Keir Starmer, the darkest day yet for his government. Angela Rayner's exit became inevitable after Sir Laurie Magnus, the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, concluded that her £40,000 underpayment of stamp duty tax when buying a home in Hove in Sussex meant she had not met the highest possible standards of proper conduct and that the code of conduct for ministers had been breached by her. Keir Starmer, in an unusual handwritten note, said she'd reached the right decision to resign, which he knew was very painful. He added that he was very sad to be losing her from the government and that he had nothing but admiration for her. In her resignation letter, Angela Rayner was explicit about the toll being put on her family, including her severely disabled son, from media pressure. She said that her priority would always be to protect her children and that the strain on them had become unbearable.
And I know this must be absolutely excruciatingly painful for her, and what a difficult thing to have to do, but she's done the right thing. But I recognise all the work that she's done for the party and the movement over the years.
It must be a difficult decision for Angela to make. She's been brilliant in her role. I'm really sad to see her go.
Rather less sympathetic to Angela Rayner was the leader of the opposition.
What we are seeing is hypocrisy on an epic scale. Angela Rayner has done far worse than breaking the ministerial code. Paying taxes is the law. It's not just an internal rule.
Out of adversity, Starmer has today tried to create opportunity with an ambitious reorganisation of his top ministerial team. You might have expected David Lammy to be gloomy, having been forced out of his adored job as Foreign Secretary to become Justice Secretary. But the pill has been sweetened because he's now Deputy Prime Minister. And then how about this for a shuffle of the pack? Yvette Cooper replaced by Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary. But Lammy replaced by Cooper at the Foreign Office. And who replaces the Chancellor? No change there. But look, history made with all the great offices of state occupied by women. In total, the Prime Minister made 12 cabinet changes, with Steve Reed going to Rayner's Housing and Local Government Department, Pat McFadden to Work and Pensions, which will also take on the skills agenda. Peter Kyle becomes Business Secretary, Liz Kendall is Science and Technology, Emma Reynolds at Environment, Douglas Alexander to Scotland, Johnny Reynolds becomes Chief Whip, and Sir Alan Campbell will be Leader of the Commons. Happier times. The Gang of Three, who led Labour to its parliamentary landslide only 14 months ago. 3 have become 2, and for Rayner, it really is goodbye, not see you again soon. Robert Peston, News at 10.
Well, Angela Rayner took immense pride in her working-class upbringing. Indeed, in her resignation letter, she said nothing she faced in government was as challenging as her experiences as a young woman. That proud identity, combined with an unapologetic, straight-talking style, helped her carve out a name for herself as she rose in politics from union rep to the very top of government.
Angela Rayner brought a blunt authenticity to government, along with significant popularity amongst the wider Labour movement.
It's an absolute great honour of my life to stand here today as your Deputy Prime Minister.
Rayner's path from a deprived background to the top of politics was remarkable. Her mother had struggled with mental health issues.
I remember staying at the bottom of my mum's bed once, thinking, is my mum going to do something?
If it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd be here today.
Rayner left school at 16, pregnant and without qualifications. She says she was told she would never amount to anything. But she became a care worker, then a union rep, and then a member of Parliament.
I will always tell it how it is. My constituents deserve no less. And I'll do it in my own little northern way. Give it up for the next Prime Minister, my boss, Jeremy Corbyn!
Despite her lack of formal qualifications, Rayner swiftly became Jeremy Corbyn's shadow education secretary. She now had the profile to win the deputy leadership election and was soon deputising for Labour's new leader, Keir Starmer, at Prime Minister's questions, albeit in her own forthright fashion.
Has he finally realised that when he stabbed Boris Johnson in the back to get his mate into number 10, he was ditching their biggest election winner for a pint-sized loser?
But her combative style sometimes got her into trouble. In 2021, she had to apologise for this description of the Tory party.
You cannot get any worse than a bunch of scum, homophobic, racist, misogynistic...
When Labour were elected to government, Rayner became Deputy Prime Minister and played an important role in reaching sections of the party and the electorate with which the Prime Minister struggled.
Lots of backbench MPs who are more on the left of the party feel that they have lost a kind of a voice at the cabinet table in terms of a voice who stood up for working people. So I think what the government has to do now is just think very carefully about who will uphold that voice.
But Rayner also attracted the wrong kind of headlines, whether for accepting a ticket to this gig in Ibiza or over the sale of her council house. Her supporters, though, claim this has more to do with her effectiveness and the kind of threat she poses to her political enemies. Carl Dinnan, News at 10.
And Robert joins me now to sort of mull over the events of the day and what is still to come. I mean, just in that piece there by Carl, it really shone a light on the fact that she is pretty irreplaceable for Sir Keir Starmer, isn't she? I mean, the role she played, the character she was, and the force of her political presence.
Yeah, the more I've thought about this as the day goes on, the more I've come to the view that this is a very serious blow to Starmer and his government. I mean, there are some of his allies who saw her as a rival to Starmer and therefore won't be sorry to see the back of her. But actually, there is a much bigger issue here for the government, which is that in terms of her abilities to communicate, in terms of the sort of size of her personality, actually, as we heard from Carl, just the way that she was able to connect this extraordinarily challenging childhood to what she wanted Labour to do for disadvantaged people. You know, there was literally nobody with that mix of skills and experience in the cabinet, and it will be a much weaker, much poorer force in, frankly, the sort of the brute, crude nature of what politics is with her having gone.
The fact is, too, she resigned from 3 roles. One of them was deputy leader of the party. That now then necessitates some sort of contest to replace that role in particular. How will that play out, and how will Starmer manage that?
So there's a lot of anxiety in Downing Street about this. We saw when there was that extraordinary rebellion against Starmer's welfare cuts for payments to the disabled, that this is not a wholly unified party. Now, the last thing Starmer wants, as he actually tries to reset and revive and, frankly, fix some very big economic problems that he has, is a display of significant party disunity in the form of a fractious an election for the deputy leader. This is a one-member, one-vote election. But there are also there's a nominations process which is also potentially very fractious. It involves unions, it involves the MPs, it involves parliamentary parties, and it could really drag on. So you're right. This is a double blow, her resignation, because the last thing he needs is the spectacle of a disunited party. And this election could indeed be a manifestation of that.
OK, Robert, thank you very much indeed for all of that. We'll stay with the story and look at one of those who has been moved, one of the senior figures, Shabana Mahmood, has already faced down one crisis in the country's heavily overcrowded prisons, you'll recall. Now, as the new Home Secretary, she'll take on an even trickier task under even greater scrutiny: immigration and the asylum system. The focus of so much debate, of course, this summer, and now her responsibility. And Paul joins us from Blackpool tonight, where I know you're filming a piece exactly about this issue, Paul. How much difference will she be able to make, do you think?
Evening, Julie. Well, look, the face has changed at the Home Office, but have the fundamentals, the underlying policy platform, I'm not so sure. I mean, on the one hand, as you say, Shabana Mahmood is seen as one of the most effective ministers in Keir Starmer's government. We know she takes a hard line on the European Convention on human rights, for example. She wants to reform that, not as hard line as the likes of Reform UK or the Conservatives, but nevertheless, she wants to change it to make it easier to deport foreign criminals, for example. So it's possible she may take a more radical approach on immigration, but it's not necessarily clear that that is what Sir Keir Starmer is looking for here. If he felt that Yvette Cooper, for example, the last Home Secretary, was ineffective, if she hadn't gone far enough, fast enough, would he have effectively promoted her tonight to Foreign Secretary? I'm not sure. And there are achievements under her watch. For example, that deal that she signed with France, the one in, one out deal, though people question how effective it will be in the longer term, it was still an achievement of sorts. And actually, if you stand back and look at the cabinet as a whole, what Keir Starmer has essentially done is he has rotated the three secretaries of state that have any interest at all in this sort of immigration issue, any direct interest in it. So the Home Secretary has become the Foreign Secretary has become the Justice Secretary, and the Justice Secretary has become the Home Secretary. They have all rotated, and they are the same people ultimately sitting around that one cabinet table. There are no new ideas necessarily, there are no fresh pairs of eyes necessarily on this issue of immigration. So this will be sort of dubbed the renewal reshuffle, but a renewed policy platform in immigration. I think let's just wait and see. I'm not entirely convinced.